It's been 5 years since the Thomas Fire scorched the hills above Montecito and Carpinteria, leading to the most devastating event in Santa Barbara County history.
Oh my God, Mom!
Well, obviously in the wake of the fire, we were concerned about the storm coming in.
There was anything from people that were stuck in their houses, flowing downstream, to water rescues, to people that had been separated from their family and seen family members washed away, people stuck in their vehicles, people even on the highway that were stuck in their vehicles are starting to get washed away as well.
Montecito was unrecognizable. It looked like a movie set. The landscape had changed. As a matter of fact, it changed so much that we needed new maps so that people could rebuild.
We loaded up in 2 teams in our Bearcats, which are our special enforcement team, armored vehicles. And we ironically just received those vehicles not too long prior to this. I remember responding down there and I could just see devastation.
Fortunately, we were able to rescue a little over 700 people that first day, but unfortunately, we'll always remember the 23 community members that were lost.
The 1/9 debris flow took lives, destroyed property, and changed the physical features of the South Coast. On the 5-year anniversary, the county was once again hit with a powerful storm. This time, historic amounts of rain, bringing more than 20 inches to sections of the foothills and mountains of South Santa Barbara County in a span of several days. This prompted evacuations and put the county's upgraded flood control system to the test, catching 215,000 cubic yards of material in the Thomas Fire burn area. This is all material that, if it wasn't for the debris basins, would have traveled south, putting homes and roads in harm's way. To put this in perspective, this is the newly constructed Randall Road debris basin following the January 2023 storms. It is located at the site of where several homes were destroyed in the 1/9 debris flow. During the January 2023 storms, it stopped more than 15,000 cubic yards of material from traveling south on Highway 192. While the destruction the county saw from the January 2023 storms was significant, no lives were lost. In the past 5 years, the county, flood control district, and critical community partners have come together to facilitate whole community recovery. To do this, 8 areas of interest were identified, studied, developed, and executed. While incredible amounts of work have already been accomplished, the county will continue to push to enhance, prepare, and support the community for the future. Here are the 8 pillars of recovery the county focused on these past 5 years. 1. Storm preparation and evacuation. Following the disaster, the county collaborated with scientists from several different organizations to evaluate the risk of incoming storms, making decisions each fall and winter on the fragility of the burn hillsides and watersheds.
This county has enhanced its resiliency both in understanding the threat, understanding the risks, but also having tools, understanding how to respond when they receive emergency alerts and being registered for emergency alerts through the Ready SBC Alerts program.
The Thomas Fire burn scar was especially at risk in the first 2 years to incoming storms. Evacuation maps were updated frequently during this time, and each incoming storm was evaluated for the potential damage it could bring. By working with our partners from National Weather Service and USGS, the county put on community outreach meetings during these precarious years to educate the public on the updated evacuation timeline process and efforts being made to keep the community safe during this time. You'll hear certain terms for evacuation, including evacuation warning, evacuation order, and shelter in place. This terminology is hopefully going to enhance how we communicate with our community members. 2. Long-term flood control mitigation. Following the debris flow, the county went to work to repair and enhance debris basins. Several debris basin locations were identified, and to date, many of them are completed or are currently under construction. These include the completion of the brand new debris basin at Randall Road.
There were 8 homes here, all of them completely destroyed by the debris flow. We actually got a lot of community interest from the local neighbors here about building a debris basin in this location. It was just finished in August of this year. So a debris basin is intended to capture large rocks and trees that come down from this very steep mountainous watershed
The Randall Road debris basin was largely made possible by the purchase of 7 voluntarily offered parcels for the construction, paid for with FEMA hazard mitigation grant funds. The new Randall Road debris basin project excavated approximately 92,000 cubic yards of dirt, debris, and rocks. Down the road at the Cold Springs debris basin, an expansion project excavated approximately 13,000 cubic yards to create additional basin volume and was completed in September of 2020. The modifications made to the Romero debris basin will improve the basin's ability to retain larger debris while passing less problematic sediment and cobblestone downstream. It was completed in October of 2022. The improvements currently under construction at the Santa Monica debris basin will enhance access and maintenance operations, allowing for debris to be more quickly and efficiently removed from the basin. Construction is currently underway to complete several more. County of Santa Barbara Public Works also worked on several transportation projects. Roads factored higher flows and updated cleanout plans and replaced bridges and drainages at Bella Vista at Romero, East Mountain Drive Bridge at San Ysidro Road, and Cold Springs Creek, as well as the Ashley Road Bridge replacement. Steps were taken to redesign the roads to carry flows with updated evacuation and emergency response goals in mind. Parcels along San Ysidro Creek were volunteered and purchased. Moving forward, a master plan was created to develop comprehensive listing of feasible mitigations to further reduce future debris flow risk. Issue 3, private property rebuilding. The debris flow damaged or destroyed 525 structures. Extensive work has taken place to bring community members back into their homes. Planning and Development created the Rebuilding Montecito website, providing resources to the community and an interactive map to help property owners through the permitting process. And the like-for-like ordinance amendment gave property owners a viable option for a streamlined permitting process.
The like-for-like ordinance were amendments that were done to the 3 different land use codes, which is the Montecito Land Use Code, the County Land Use and Development Code, and Article 2, which is the coastal zoning ordinance. And I want to say in terms of building permits, almost 300 ended up being approved. So homeowners definitely did take advantage of this.
The debris flow changed the landscape. So a survey control network was put in place to assist property owners and to establish property lines as well as properties owned by public agencies. As property owners researched options for rebuilding, some lot line adjustments were made, and this is still an option for property owners as they are researching their options for rebuilding. Flood control and planning and development are continuing to provide guidance through the rebuilding process, working with the latest FEMA flood recovery map.
So of the 525 structures that we were tracking from the very start, the large majority of owners who wanted to rebuild or repair their structures have done so already. For a homeowner who needs help with something like this, I would say contact our zoning counter and they will put you in contact with a caseworker.
Issue 4, debris on private property. The debris flow displaced a hillside of items, including everything from cars to pieces of homes and boulders the size of buses. In the weeks and months following the debris flow, teams worked to move destroyed cars to metal recyclers, work around massive boulders, properly dispose of hazardous waste, regrade properties, and move debris material off the site. Along the way, the material was sorted. Collaboration between cities helped develop a regional disaster debris management plan that included management of all types of disaster materials. And then there was the bucket brigade.
It was like, I have a bucket and I have a shovel and I can go help them dig their house out, right? And we called our friends and we went and just tried to dig out one house. You know, we didn't think we could solve the problem, it's too big. But we can help those friends with their house with our hands and our shovels, and that's what we did.
Abe Powell started the grassroots bucket brigade in the days after the debris flow, neighbors helping neighbors and giving strength to community members who wanted to help but didn't know how.
It started with 50 people and one house, and by summertime it had been 4,500 people and 100 homes, 66 acres of open space, and miles of trail cleared.
Issue 5, financial impacts and economic recovery.
The 1/9 debris flow resulted in an estimated $500 million worth of damage. Estimated response costs and damage to county infrastructure amounted to $200 million. More than half of that was paid by federal aid. Small business administration loans were also provided to 61 homes and 80 businesses throughout the area, totaling to more than $12 million.
FEMA also provided individual housing assistance to 383 applicants. Community groups also came together to help individuals. 805 UndocuFund distributed more than $1 million to families impacted by the Thomas Fire and debris flow, the majority of this money going to undocumented service workers. The county still continues to pursue a variety of federal and state grants to fund the installation of new protection measures and various other long-term funding options for maintenance. Issue 6, infrastructure repair. The county transportation network experienced over $27 million in damage from the fire and subsequent debris flow. Every aspect of transportation infrastructure was affected. Bridges, roads, drainage systems, trees, walkways, and traffic control systems. Rebuilding these facilities were essential to provide access for emergency services, debris removal, rebuilding, and resiliency for the future. Over $10 million in paving, restored, and improved 26 lane miles of roads throughout the community. The county collaborated with residents to ensure that new structures met design requirements while being context sensitive to the semi-rural community. During reconstruction of roadways, the department collaborated with Bucket Brigade to restore walkability in the community. Bucket Brigade, together with the county, did extensive outreach on a property-by-property basis to create safe, walkable paths along many roads throughout Montecito.
In Montecito, what we've seen is what I call a sustained response, in which members of the community and groups like the Bucket Brigade and Public Works and the county have been working together, not just to bring the community back to the level it was before, but to help it be more interconnected and resilient than it was before in a number of really important ways.
The community coming together also led to the collaboration of the county with the Project for Resilient Communities to work on getting additional protection measures in place.
We had some very generous donors early on who basically told us, go forth and do good things and find what you can. And Les Firestein, who was one of our group, found these things called debris nets. And so we applied for an emergency permit. We had 13 permits for 13 different nets, and we ended up being able to fund and construct 6.
Our county is more equipped for responding to large-scale emergencies like debris flows.
We've increased the capabilities of our aircraft to a Black Hawk helicopter now, so instead of hoisting and carrying up to 4 passengers, you can pile in 17 people in that aircraft now. For ground assets, we now have UTVs because we noticed that day just getting around, our vehicles would no longer work getting around. So we used UTVs and all-terrain vehicles to get around to these access points.
The Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department is updating its fleet with a new high-low siren.
So the high-low siren is also a Euro siren, but it is a very unique siren, something that we don't use here in California and in Santa Barbara County. So it's going to be a siren that people aren't going to recognize. They need to know that, hey, I hear that siren, I need to log on to the internet, I need to watch my local news, turn on the radio.
ReadySBC.org is the county's readiness and response website. It is the first place you want to check if you hear that siren, offering the very latest information about emergencies and evacuations. Issue 7, Natural Resources. The Santa Barbara South Coast is a special place. The county was sensitive to that and proactively considered the needs of cultural resources. As the community was put back together following the debris flow, cultural resource identification and protection was assessed on a case-by-case basis when rebuilding efforts are initiated on impacted properties. The tribal government was supportive and collaborative with the county in these processes. Issue 8, Community Engagement. In the days preceding and following the 1/9 debris flow, the County Emergency Operations Center, EOC, provided support and coordinated resources for emergency responders and impacted community members. Between January 5th and January 31st of 2018, 162 personnel reported to the EOC from county departments, local jurisdictions, and mutual aid sources, for a total of 12,305 response hours. The EOC was the hub for information, coordinating press conferences, activating the county call center, and providing timely resources to the community. The EOC remained active throughout 2018 to support debris management concepts, home repair, and rebuilding guidance, and state and federal cost recovery. The Montecito Center was a resource for the community during this challenging time. It connected those most impacted by the disaster with supportive services and resources, helped guide those impacted through often complex government systems, policies, and processes related to recovery and rebuilding. Residents could engage with flood control and planning and development staff to get started on the complex issue of recovering and rebuilding. The center was critical in building neighborhood and property owner buy-in and support for that project. By August, connections had been established, and instead of a physical center, ongoing support was provided through direct contact with county departments. More than a dozen crisis counselors were placed at the center to work with the community.
At the 6-month mark, we had about 10,000 mental health contacts, and by the following spring, we were to over 22,000. So really, we're able to reach a number of people within the community. It was not intended that the community wellness team would continue. It was formed specifically for the response to the debris flow, but it has. 5 years later, that same team has formed together around multiple traumatic events that have happened within our community and are still going strong.
I was proud of the fact that people wanted to be proactive, that they had agency. They didn't just expect government to do everything. They wanted government to be a partner, but they wanted to be a part of the solution.
The community's response was amazing. They came together in a way that I had never seen in Montecito before. The neighbor helping neighbor literally for the days and weeks that followed the debris flow. And in the rebuilding process, that even became more evident in partnerships with the county. What is really, really important to our community is that they not forget the risk that surrounds them, whether it's from wildfire or debris flow. One of our concerns is the further away you get from an emergency, the further back in people's minds it goes, while the risk that that emergency will happen again rises.
The anniversary is another reminder for me, and I think for others, of how resilient our community is. Going through a difficult situation and making it through, and then going through another and coming out stronger each time. This community is remarkable, and the resiliency that it holds is absolutely remarkable.
I think a benefit out of all this, there might be the training mechanism, the equipment, but taking care of our people, we learned that that's the most important thing out there.
We have this incredible sadness for the friends that we've lost, and also a little bit of hope. And the hope comes from the way the community pulled together and helped each other. And I think that gave us a sense of solidarity and pride of living in Santa Barbara, that this is the kind of community that people came together and really dug in literally to help each other get through this.
We, as a region, are now more aware and more prepared, more resilient. But let's keep on working to make sure that we remember and that we keep on working to become a more resilient community.
The last 5 years have shown us that we are one resilient county. The county, along with community partnerships, were able to fulfill these 8 pillars. While work still remains, our community is ready and prepared now, more so than ever before. Following the debris flow, a good portion of the South Coast was unrecognizable. Here we are, 5 years later, and the regrowth of not only the land, but the community has shown us that we are one county with one future.